Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Welcome back. Today we're talking about the horrifying reality of the job market here in America right now. That's right, the job market, right? Everybody wants to talk about that. We've not talked about that enough, but we're going into the holiday season, and this is when people usually pick up a bunch of part-time jobs. That way they can pay for a bunch of gifts for a bunch of ungrateful children that are still going to resent them anyway. But going into this holiday season, there's just no jobs. There's no jobs for anyone. There's no jobs for anyone who's just looking for normal employment. If you're actually looking for a part-time gig, in fact, part-time gigs are pretty much the only things that are out there right now because you can be underpaid. They don't have to give you a lot of hours, and they can treat you however they want to treat you because they know that you're going to quit in just a few weeks. But as far as the job market's concerned right now, unemployment, pretty low. That's the official numbers. That's what we hear, right? 4.4%, something like that. Sounds pretty all right. It doesn't sound bad. 95.6% of America is employed, right? The eagles soar. The flags, they wave. America's on the up and up. It's doing great. The economy's booming. People are flush with money. If you're poor, it's your own fault. It's all ridiculous. Listen, the employment numbers are a scam. Everyone knows that it's a scam. 4.4% is just an illusion, right? It's the number that they trot out on mainstream media to make everyone think that the economy is not collapsing. But the thing is, it is collapsing. If we take away the profit that was made by the AI companies this past year, the stock market only went up 0.1%. Think about that. It's bad out there. But again, let's get back to the job market. Let's talk about the illusion, because that's exactly what it is. It's an illusion, like free breakfast at a hotel. Unemployment numbers are great as long as you don't actually count the number of people who are unemployed in this country, because that's the magic trick to this whole thing. Poof, they disappear just like that. People who are disgruntled because they put in 1,000 applications and have never gotten a call back, and they just kind of turned away. They've been out of the job market for so long because they can't find a job. They're not going to count them anymore. If you've been on the job hunt for 6 or 7 months, the only thing that you actually have available to you in this country right now is entry-level positions, but they're still asking for 12 years of work experience, a master's degree, and $120,000 worth of student loan debt. That's just to get your foot in the door for an interview. People can't even get a job at McDonald's right now. You know the economy is in a bad position when McDonald's is being super selective of the people that they're hiring. The criteria just to get a job at McDonald's is to have a degree. This sounds like the Philippines, right? I spent enough time in the Philippines to know that people who work at 7-Elevens usually have a degree in chemistry. That's insane. In countries like that, where there's not enough jobs for people, the criteria just to get a poverty wage job requires a college degree. It doesn't make any sense. So when I hear the numbers rolled out on mainstream media, and I hear people, the politicians getting up there and say, unemployment's looking pretty good right now. The numbers are looking great. Like, where in imagination land did you get this, right? Are you getting these numbers from Narnia? Because it's not from this planet, not the real numbers. On the surface, they're like, look, it's 3 to 4% unemployment. But in reality, everyone has a side hustle because they have to. They're silently weeping, and the other half have 3 jobs just so they can afford a mattress that's made of recycled cardboard. We got people with master's degrees delivering tacos at 2 o'clock in the morning because it's the only thing that offers them a flexible schedule that they can actually have time to have a panic attack during the day. You've got 28-year-olds who've been working for 10 years reporting to an AI manager, and you got 60-year-olds who have no idea what's going on. They're told that they've got to reinvent themselves. Like, they've got to learn Python. They got to learn how to use the algorithm. You got to look at this entire thing and just be like, what's going on? The jobs don't make sense. The positions don't make sense. The wages don't make sense. Most of these positions, they don't even sound real. They just sound like titles that some fucking tech billionaire dreamed up after a 16-hour ayahuasca bender in Joshua Tree. Like, you got to get personal with these stories because the numbers, they don't have a personal touch to them, right? Like, recently, I've talked to a college graduate. They had a degree in communications. Bright kid, full of hope. The world is their oyster, and that's before they kind of got tasered by reality. 25% of unemployed people right now are recent college graduates. That should really tell you about the kind of hopeful landscape that our nation's youth is really treading on right now. 200 applications this person sent out, and no replies. When they finally did land a job, it was just an unpaid internship. That's not even a job. That's getting paid in exposure. It's getting paid in experience. But experience doesn't pay the rent. Try to tell your landlord that you don't have the money because you have an internship, but hopefully it'll lead to a job in the next 6 to 12 months, and they're just going to call the police on you. Then I talked to somebody else. They're like a mid-level professional, right? 20 years of experience, nice, amiable, solid work ethic, sensible shoes. Now, they got laid off because their company got restructured. But all that really means is the company decided to save a little bit of money by getting rid of the workers and putting in AI that's generally going to make decisions that are just a little bit worse than the live human that would have been taking that role before. But hey, at least the wage on the AI is a lot cheaper. So when he gets laid off, what does he do? He hits the job market, this dying, collapsing, festering abyss, this dystopian wasteland of a job market that it is right now. And what's the only thing that's available to this person with 20 years of work experience? Junior positions. That's it. Entry-level positions that require 5 years of experience, 2 unpaid internships, with United Nations, and a willingness to work on the weekends in exchange for pizza. Because if you ask most people, they don't even ask most people what's the best way to get a job, and no one knows. No one knows what the hell's going on. Right? What are you going to use? LinkedIn? A ZipRecruiter? Most people feel like they're just sending their resumes into the void because that's exactly what they're doing. Like, you don't get a response. You don't even get a rejection. If you do get a rejection, for some reason, it's going to be 2 or 3 months later when HR for the company decides to push out, hey, we decide to go in a different direction email. But all that means is they actually hired somebody to the position internally, or because they had a drinking buddy who got laid off and gave them the job even though they didn't even need to apply. You ever see what a grown adult looks like when they're checking their LinkedIn at midnight? It's dark. It's not good. It's like watching a raccoon try to search through a dumpster, just trying to find their self-worth. But we really got to travel in this one because the job market collapse isn't really distributed evenly, and it really does depend on what region you're in. Each region is a little bit different, but there isn't any golden area, right? There's no spot that you can go to unless you have a high-paying remote job and you can move out to the rural bumfuck nowhere. There's really no escape. I've been to some places in this country where it is like a Disneyland, right? And people are so happy. Living is nice. There's no worries. Everyone's smiling. The people out jogging at 9 a.m. because they don't have a job to go to because they're probably just a stay-at-home mom. And the only reason those places are like that because those people are generally rich, and rich people all live in the same area. But everywhere else, just kind of a desolate wasteland. Let's talk about the Midwest. You walk through every small town and the buildings look like they haven't been occupied since the Carter administration. And the only functioning businesses there at this point still is just a Dairy Queen and a Dollar General. And even they're struggling to get by because they rely on their customers using food stamps. And who knows if those are going to hold up in the future. Those businesses are kind of clinging to life like 2 survivors off the Titanic found some driftwood. That's pretty much it. The factories are gone. The warehouses are empty. Listen, I've actually ran warehouses in rural America before, and even during the COVID days they were empty. Nowadays there's nothing going out because nobody can afford to buy anything, so the warehouses are empty. The only jobs that you can actually get are either low wage or pay in tips and emotional trauma. And you got a 58-year-old man who spent the past 30 years working in a factory, but now he's delivering groceries out of his pickup trucks because his job got taken by a robot. But the thing is, the robot doesn't even do the job that well. It just works for cheap. Then you got the tech hubs in the big cities, the San Franciscos, the Austins, the New York cities. There, everyone has a job, but their jobs aren't even real. All their job titles sound fake because they are. They're innovation consultants, growth hackers, vision architects. And if you ask the people what the jobs even mean, they can't even tell you. That's because there is no meaning to those jobs. It's because the companies that hire people like that only exist because venture capital has enough money to throw at these places and prop them up so they can inflate the value of the companies and either sell it off or rug pull it for a profit. You got people who are working at startups that aren't profitable yet. But the thing is, the same startup hasn't been profitable for the past 12 years. This is just a common thing. And even if you have a good wage in a place like that, it doesn't even mean anything. Not when a studio apartment in some of these cities is $4,000 a month, and that's just for the living space that is essentially the size of a toddler's coffin. But at least if you live in one of these places, there's a good chance that recreational smoking is allowed. So at least you can numb yourself to the reality that you have a fake job. You're not getting paid enough. You pay too much for your rent and apartment. And tomorrow you can lose your job to an AI bot named Chad, and you're going to be running DoorDash just like the guy out in the Midwest, except you're going to have to trade that $4,000 rent apartment for a $3,500 a month co-op with 8 different people in essentially the same living space, because it's not rent controlled. And lastly, of course, we got to talk about the South, baby. The South ain't got nothing going on. I mean, they got jobs. Yes, they have jobs everywhere. If you like working for Amazon, the kind of dystopian, consumeristic cathedral warehouses that those are. But more than that, they got gig jobs, service jobs, compliance work, logistics, distribution. Really, the South has the backbone of jobs when it comes to our country. But the wages are the issue. Paychecks for jobs in the South should come with a sympathy card, because you kind of need it. Because each time you get one of those paychecks and actually have a look at it, after all the deductions, all the taxes, local, state, federal, your Social Security, all that shit. After they take all that out of it, you're left with nothing. You can go to the Piggly Wiggly. You can go to Winn-Dixie, maybe get some pulled pork and cry over that while watching NASCAR. That's all you got in the South. Down there, you're still working 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week, and you still got to choose between electricity and food, because guess what? They just put in a new AI warehouse, and now you have what's essentially an additional $200 monthly fee just so you can have access to AI slop when you're scrolling through TikTok. Lovely. But this is just how civilization collapses. And we can all sense it. We can all feel it. And we're all just kind of like poking and be like, just fall apart already so we can try to build something new. At least so we don't have to pay taxes anymore. Because the problem isn't you, right? The problem is the system. The problem is a system where productivity goes up, but the wages don't. Pay for the CEO goes up, but wages don't. Prices go up, but wages don't. And all the meanwhile, normal people, regular workers, the working class, the working poor, you're just told that you got to work harder. But you're working harder for what reason? Because if you work overtime, if you have a job that will give you overtime, pretty much all the extra money that you would have made on that goes away to taxes. So what's the point? But that's what society expects from us, right? Grind. You got to rise and grind. You got to build your personal brand and launch a side hustle, become an entrepreneur. And honestly, that's the best way to get out of this entire situation, because the age of working for somebody else is over. So you have to try the lottery of small business, try the lottery of actually becoming an entrepreneur. But that's what it is at this point. It's a lottery, because small business in America is collapsing. I'll make a video on that. The thing is, people don't need a side hustle anymore. They just need one decent job. This is what people want. Most people just want one job that they can work, and it's going to pay for the rent. It's going to pay their mortgage. It's going to pay for their food, their utilities, and maybe, once a year they can go to Disney World. That's all people really want. And healthcare. And you're like, well, that shouldn't be much to ask for. And the thing is, you're right. That's not much to ask for. That should be a bare minimum in the greatest country on earth, the wealthiest country to ever exist on this planet. Right? That should be an expectation, not something that we need to fight for at this point. But all the workers' rights and regulations, all the benefits that generations of workers in America have fought for since the early 1900s are just being chipped away slowly by technocrats and their lobbyists, just so they can keep AI unregulated so you can lose your jobs. They can continue to consolidate on the assets in America, leaving Americans with nothing to invest in, nothing to hope for, nothing to build on. And let's not even talk about the American dream, because that's dead. That's just a carrot that's held in front of us. And if you still believe in that, you're a moron. The labor market's done and dying at this point. The nation's bleeding jobs. The entire job market's just held together by motivational quotes on LinkedIn. They're posted by a guy who never really had a job in the first place. He just inherited all his wealth from his grandfather, who invented plastic forks. But the truth is, to this entire situation, because that's what we do on this channel, we talk about the truth, right? Unvarnished, unfiltered kind of truth. Although hard to swallow, it is the truth. America doesn't have a worker shortage. It doesn't have a low employment miracle. America has a bad job problem. That's what it has. There's plenty of jobs out there, but no one's going to take them because they don't pay enough to live. So you can say, well, people just need to get out there. There's plenty of jobs. Yeah, that's easy to say when you own your house free and clear and you're just collecting Social Security while at the same time you're hating on people who collect SNAP benefits and other people who collect Social Security because you're hypocrites. We've replaced stable employment with hustle culture. We've replaced stable employment with good pay, with gig work. We've replaced stable employment with microtask platforms where you get paid 13 cents for reviewing a photo to make sure that it's not pornographic. That's where we're at right now. The stability in this country is gone. And that's all the people want, right? We don't want a segmented job market. We don't want a hellscape dystopian job market where people have to work 4 or 5 jobs just to live. We just want one job. That's how it was a couple decades ago. That's it. Because if this continues at this rate, right, we're not going to be talking about the job market. We're going to be talking about what the nation's going to look like after it's ripped itself apart because people can't afford to live. People in this country are drowning right now. They're drowning politely, right? We're drowning with courtesy because we don't want to bother anybody. But the thing is, we need to bother people. We need to stop suffering in silence. You can complain to me about complaining online, but the thing is, somebody needs to complain about this in a logical way. And I feel like that's what we're doing here, right? We have to bring logic to the situation because the situation that Americans are in, the job market itself is illogical. It doesn't make any sense. And the path that it's going on is leading our country to destruction. So here we are in a country full of hardworking people who want good jobs, but there's no good jobs to be had. Our communities have been absolutely hollowed out by corporations. The next generation has no hope of actually owning a home, and they're walking into the job market after college with $100,000 in student loan debt, walking into a job that's paying $32,000 a year if they can get that. Young people are getting burnt out at 25, and old people are getting abandoned and have to come out of retirement because the value of the dollar has been so watered down and the cost of living has gone up so high that the peace that they've attained after 40, 50 years of work, that guess what? That's just been pulled out from under them. Now they got to go try to get a job at McDonald's where they can leverage their 50 years of work experience and trade that for getting yelled at through the drive-through window at somebody at 3 o'clock in the morning who just drank a bottle of Jose Cuervo. I am sick and tired of hearing how the economy is strong and how we're entering a golden age. The economy is strong for who? It's not strong for me. It's not strong for the working class. It's definitely not strong for the guy with 3 different degrees who are making lattes for tech bros who think that workers' rights should be optional. But I guess maybe everyone's right. Maybe we should just stop complaining and everything's going to be fine in the end, right? Let's be hopeful about it. Let's be positive. I'm positive that one day the society is going to get so bad that we're just going to have a purge, and that's when the fun's actually going to begin in this country, right? That's when America will be exciting again. Let the proscriptions commence. Take back the wealth. Let's get a little bit of a recapture of American ownership. Those are exciting times. We can all look forward to those because the times we're in right now, we're in the suck. In the military, we have a thing called the suck. Americans, congratulations. You're in the suck. Get used to it. But that's all we got for today, ladies and gentlemen. It's Saturday. Enjoy your day off if you have one, or if you're on your way to one of your 4 different side hustles because your utilities went up by $150 a month and you'd like to have food. So it kind of sucks. But if you're still here at this point, like and subscribe. Think about becoming a member. How has the job market been treating you? I've had some people reach out to me, obviously, and it's not been looking good. Some people haven't been able to find a job to replace the one that they've lost in the past couple of years. Like, this isn't something that's new, right? I fucking don't like this administration, but that's not the point. This has been going on for a long time. The degradation and decaying of the American economy and job experiences has been going on for a long time. Americans have been slowly bleeding out, and our country is about to suffer a death of 1,000 cuts. But it's what it is. Still here at this point. Think about becoming a member, right? Give a donation to the channel. It's always appreciated. Dog food's getting expensive. We love you guys, and try to keep sane. Have a good one.